Can a thirsty crow solve his problem using only his brain? Watch to see how he turns a tough situation into a smart victory. One hot and scorching afternoon, a thirsty crow soared high above the fields, looking for water. The sun blazed down relentlessly, and the crow could feel his throat growing drier with each passing minute. After flying for what seemed like hours, he spotted a tree in the distance. Beneath the tree was a pitcher, and in the pitcher, he hoped to find a refreshing drink. Excitedly, the crow flew down to the pitcher, his wings flapping with hope. But when he arrived and peered inside, his excitement turned into disappointment. The water level was far too low. The crow stretched his neck as far as he could and tried to dip his beak into the pitcher, but it was no use. The water lay at the bottom of the narrow vessel, just out of reach. Frustrated, the crow hopped around the pitcher, pecking at it, trying to move it or break it open, but the pitcher was too heavy for him. He tried turning it over, but it didn't budge. With a sigh, the crow sat beside the pitcher, his head bowed low, feeling hopeless. He stared at the water and wondered if he would have to give up. But then, an idea struck him. What if there's a way to raise the water level so I can reach it? The crow's face lit up with a new sense of determination. He realized that brute strength wouldn't help, but clever thinking just might. He needed a strategy, not force. The crow glanced around the area, hoping to find a solution. As he surveyed the ground, he noticed several small, smooth pebbles scattered around the field. They were perfect, he thought to himself. If I drop these pebbles into the pitcher, maybe the water level will rise enough for me to drink. Without wasting another moment, the crow picked up the first pebble with his beak and flew back to the pitcher. He carefully dropped it into the narrow neck of the pitcher, and to his delight, he saw the water level rise slightly. Encouraged by this, the crow quickly flew back to pick up another stone. With each pebble he dropped, the water in the pitcher began to rise, though very slowly. The crow repeated the process over and over again, tirelessly flying back and forth between the pitcher and the ground to gather more pebbles. His wings were growing tired, and the sun seemed to burn hotter, but the crow refused to give up. Every time he dropped a pebble into the pitcher, he saw the water rise just a little more. His persistence began to pay off, and with each successful drop, his hope grew stronger. The crow understood that patience and careful planning were key. He didn't rush. He focused on the task ahead of him, knowing that every pebble brought him closer to his goal. After what seemed like an eternity of work, the crow saw that the water level had risen enough for him to reach it. He leaned down, extending his neck as far as possible, and finally, he was able to dip his beak into the cool, refreshing water. The crow drank deeply, feeling the water soothe his dry throat. As he drank, the crow felt a great sense of satisfaction. It wasn't just the water that made him feel content. It was the knowledge that his clever thinking and persistence had led him to success. He had solved the problem, not by force or impatience, but by thinking creatively. The crow rested beside the pitcher, basking in the feeling of accomplishment. He looked at the pebbles in the pitcher, remembering the effort it had taken to raise the water level. He realized that what mattered wasn't the struggle, but the approach he took to solve the problem. The crow was proud of himself for not giving in to frustration or defeat. As he sat, he thought about how this lesson could be applied to many situations in life. Sometimes, when faced with a difficult challenge, the best solution isn't always the strongest or the quickest, but the smartest. The crow knew that cleverness, along with persistence, was often the key to overcoming obstacles. As the crow spread his wings and took flight once more, he felt a deep sense of gratitude for the lesson he had learned. He knew that cleverness could help him in future challenges. The crow had learned that when faced with a problem, creativity and perseverance would often open the path to success. He realized that thinking carefully and not rushing into things could solve even the hardest problems.